It's from Mediaite. Judge warns Trump he will be jailed if he doesn't show up to court every day of hush money trial. Trump wanted to go see his son graduate. He will not be allowed to do this. Trump will not be allowed to campaign. This trial is expected to last about a month and a half. Now, the question I have before we get into all the nitty gritty of this trial for everybody is, do you think that if Trump doesn't show up, or do you believe that the police departments in New York City will defy orders to arrest Trump, or will they gleefully and smile and say, I'm the one who arrested Donald Trump?
I think they'll love it. They'll get free beers forever at their local pub.
That's right. Now,
some of them will. It just takes enough to arrest him. They'll definitely find cops to do that.
What's interesting is where they're going to put the Secret Service in jail.
Right. But I imagine in New York, the response people would say is, well, of course, the cops in New York would want to arrest Trump. The whole legal system's out to get him. It's all biased and corrupt. The prosecutors are out to get him. The judges are out to get him. You think the New York City dwelling police officers aren't as anti-Trump as everybody else? Maybe they're slightly better, but we saw around 30 police officers defend Bill de Blasio when he illegally stole taxpayer money to paint Black Lives Matter in front of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue.
Just to stick it to Trump. Stealing
tax money to do it. And the cops, with smiles on their faces, defended his right to do this and protected it. If Donald Trump...
He did not go through the proper channels.
Absolutely not. And cops were happy to uphold the criminal activity. If Donald Trump was found in contempt, all the police officers in the correctional, all the guards, all the cops, they would all gleefully arrest and throw him in lockup. And if they were told to beat him, they'd do it too. You're not going to be able to come to me and say, oh, a cop would, are you kidding? It's New York City. The judges are doing it. Every judge Trump has had. Now you've got a judge telling Trump he can't see his son's graduation. The charges in this case are a misdemeanor. For some unknown reason, Braga said this time it's a felony.
Well, and a lot of the misdemeanor counts, the 34 misdemeanor counts, are the same count over again because they give him a count for the invoice. They give him a count for the recording of the invoice as a legal fee, recording of a payment as a legal fee, and the recording of the receipt as a legal fee. So each one of those, that's 3 counts. It would be the exact same payment, but it's 3 counts. So it's, like if the Trump organization had made the payment to Michael Cohen, what was it? You said $134,000. If there had been 1 invoice, 1 check, and 1 receipt, it would only be 3 counts. That's all they would have.
But these were retainer payments.
Retainer payments,
they were
exactly.
Totaling $400,000 over a period of time, and that's actually the defense argument, which is this is
that
not
they were regular
payoff.
payments.
These are regular payments for services rendered in the course of business.
And did the payments start before Stormy Daniels had been paid off?
Well, Michael Cohen was already Trump's lawyer and had been representing him on other stuff. So there was a general ongoing legal relationship. It wasn't just related to the Stormy Daniels matter.
Right. My question is, if this is a regular reoccurring retainer payment, did the retainer payments begin before or after Stormy Daniels?
I think they're only targeting these retainer payments that happen after the fact. I think in other cases he was paid off in different ways for his services.
But I guess what I'm asking is it a static retainer that's been the same the whole time? Or did it change?
I think it did change. And of course, there was an additional need for legal services at the same time as well.
So the issue I see is pending some evidence that certainly Trump would already have to have access to that shows Trump explicitly saying to Cohen, I want you to pay her off to shut her up, but don't worry, I'll hide the money through retainers. I don't know how you prove this.
Well, you can't prove it, and that's why the Department of Justice, Alvin Bragg's predecessor, everyone who's looked at it, the Federal Election Commission experts, everyone has said this cannot be charged as an election crime or a crime at all because you can't prove it. The 2 key witnesses are known liars, Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen has pled to lying in court. And so Stormy Daniels has an affidavit out there saying, none of this happened. This is all lies. I never had a relationship with Donald Trump. How can you prove that case? A legitimate prosecutor would never bring this case. Only a prosecutor goring a political axe would bring this case.
And weren't the payments made to a media company instead? Wasn't it like a catch and kill situation?
There's a number of different factual scenarios in there. Yeah.
Do you think Trump gets convicted?
You only need 1 juror. So the question is, who is the jury, right? You need 1 juror to hang the jury. And so that's really what's going on here. Now, the judge has stacked the deck there by allowing dozens of questions of the jury pool that ask whether they support Trump, but has eliminated questions about whether you support Biden. He's also eliminated all Orthodox Jews from serving on this jury by ensuring that most trials in most courts around the country, they're dark on Fridays, meaning the judge attends to other business, injunctions, hearings, settlement conferences. But he's bringing the 1 day a week on Wednesday, which screws over President Trump from holding rallies on the weekends that he likes to do. So he cuts into his rally time. And no Orthodox Jew can serve on a jury where it's all day court on
I'm just wondering why Trump is complying.
Well, what can he do? He's going to be in contempt of court. He's in a legal process. He doesn't have a choice.
I do not believe this is a legal process, and I think it's only considered one because Trump agrees. So when you have what is not a criminal charge, when the DOJ and the FEC say this is not criminal, there's no evidence of a crime being committed to the point where the Fed said no, and you have everything you described, I suppose the only thing is Trump is like, no, we'll go because I'm going to get airtime. I'm going to be the number one story in the country over and over and over again. They're not going to prove it. It's going to make me look like a victim. I think the only strategy is that Trump's like, it benefits me. Why not?
Well, look, I think he's making the most of it, certainly politically, but nobody wants to be in this situation. And I hope that they can seat a good jury where one person is honest and says this is BS. It's possible. It's happened.
Doesn't a hung jury mean they try him again?
Maybe, but once jeopardy has attached, he can't be tried twice for the same crime. That's not a hung jury. That's failure to convict. That isn't hung juries when they don't reach a decision.
So if only one juror refuses,
that's right, in a criminal case in New York.
Oh, then they can't convict him.
Then they cannot try him again.
Interesting.
Yes.
But so what would happen if it's 12 jurors, one of them says he's not guilty, and 11 say he is? What would they report then to the judge? We've been unable to come to a decision, or it's not unanimous. How would they report that?
Well, they don't have 12 people to convict.
So if
the judge would first instruct them to go back and try again. That's what this judge would do.
How long?
That's what judges do.
Would they come back and say
there's no manual for that? So the judge has to make his own determination as to whether it's possible for this jury to reach a verdict.
Would they then come out and say, Your Honor, we have been unable to come to a verdict?
Well, that one juror may be able to, convince other people as well.
But I guess my question is, do you need a unanimous not guilty or a unanimous guilty?
You need a unanimous guilty to convict him.
So if one person refuses, is it just he's not guilty?
He's not guilty.
The jury would come out and say, we find the defendant not guilty.
When the jury is done with its deliberations, when people are ready to go home, it's not guilty.
But so just to clarify, if one juror says not guilty, the foreman reports to the judge, we have found the defendant not guilty.
I don't know the niceties of New York law on that, but my understanding is one juror refusing to convict in this case results in a not guilty verdict. Because after all deliberations are concluded.
Right. What I'm wondering is, how would you get a hung jury then?
Hung jury is they come back and they say, we don't have an agreement. Right.
But if you have 11 saying yes and one saying no, isn't that a hung jury?
What happens at the end of the day is they get worn down and, they tend to reach some kind of a verdict.
Yeah. I kind of feel like in New York, they're going to say guilty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I like I said, you need one. Yeah. You need one.
Yeah.
Is it like after, if the judge was like, go back, redeliberate, 3 days go by. If the judge is like, we're coming back next week, all week until you guys get it. Is that unethical?
Well,
at a certain point, people are going to, piece out of that, right? He's given them a certain period of time of this trial, and people have gone to their bosses, gone to their lives. And one thing to keep in mind, there are 2 alternates as well. So there's actually 14 people who are going to be seated. And so what happens in a really long trial is you risk losing jurors during that process. And so, it has been the case where a juror in week 6 of a trial leaves. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm sick. My wife is sick. My boss needs me or whatever. And then one of the alternates comes in. So they do have a fail safe for that. But it's, I've had trials where that happens.
If you go down to 11 jurors, is the case need to be retried from the top?
If you go down to 11 jurors and you don't have 12, yes.
And the juror can just leave whenever they want? If one of them's
they can't leave whenever they want. They'd be in contempt of court if they did that. So, but judges excuse jurors for hardships. For example, I'm having a heart attack. I've got COVID, my son died, whatever, like some emergency happens, then that's what happens.
We just were watching one case a few weeks ago where it went Wednesday, they couldn't come to a decision. Thursday, no decision. Friday afternoon, everyone wanted to go home. They made a decision. They just threw the guy under the bus.
Was it the grandma? Was it that grandma?
What was it? It was
No, it was Doug Mackey,
Oh,
Yeah.
the meme guy.
Interesting.
He said they were hung. He said, go back. They come back. They were hung. He said, go back. And then finally they were just like, we just want to go home. Just say he's guilty.
I would literally never do that. I would be like, I'm moving into the courthouse. I would literally never.
The tricky
do that.
part here is that, I saw a conservative commentator earlier today saying, one citizen needs to get on that jury. But to get on that jury as a Trump supporter, you'd have to lie. You'd have to suppress that. And now people do that. It happens all the time. I tried a pro-life case involving the First Amendment in San Francisco. And there were people who wanted to get on that jury. We could tell because they were adamantly pro-choice and they wanted to see my client fry. And so it's the job of the lawyers to suss that out. And at the end of the day, a judge's refusal to bounce a juror who's clearly biased is reversible error. But by that time, the conviction would have happened. So that's like the jeopardy here is I'm confident, at the end of the day that these kinds of things will get sussed out.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.